The silent Earth, the galaxy was always loud. Every planet, every empire, every ship sent out signals, trade calls, warnings, and greetings. Communication filled the stars like endless noise. But one day, the council chambers fell into an uneasy quiet. Reports arrived from every corner of the galaxy, and all of them said the same thing. Earth had gone silent. No human voice echoed through the common channels. No transmissions left their colonies. No trade convoys traveled the routes that had once been filled with human ships. At first, the other species thought it was a system error. Perhaps Earth's networks had crashed, or maybe humans were updating their machines. But hours turned into days, and days stretched into weeks. The silence did not end. The council gathered in a grand circular hall. Alien leaders with scaled skin, metallic shells, or glowing eyes argued in low tones. Fear hid behind their words. One of them, a tall insect-like being, slammed its claw against the table. "This is unnatural," it hissed. "Humans never stay quiet. They are builders, traders, explorers. They talk too much. Why would they stop now?" No one could answer. The council tried sending probes. Each one reached Earth's orbit without trouble. They found satellites still circling, lights blinking silently. The machines were alive, but they spoke nothing. The probes reported no sound, no code, no language, just a heavy, watchful silence. For some, that silence was scarier than war. If humans had attacked, it would make sense. If they had surrendered, it would make sense. But to say nothing, to hide in silence, that was unbearable. Across the galaxy, rumors grew like fire. Small colonies whispered that Earth had built a secret weapon. Merchants feared that humans were preparing to control trade routes by force. Some even believed that humanity had vanished, replaced by machines that now observed the stars with unblinking eyes. A young alien envoy asked the question no one wanted to face. What if they are waiting for us to make the first move? The words sank into every mind. Ships that once traveled near Earth began avoiding the solar system. Trade fleets changed their paths. Even the bold pirates who raided outer colonies refused to cross near the blue planet. They said it was cursed. They said the silence was a warning. Meanwhile, on Earth itself, no one outside could see what was truly happening. Cities still stood, power grids glowed, oceans still moved with tides. Yet to the galaxy, the planet looked like a mask, beautiful, calm, and unreadable. Inside the council chamber, the leader of the session, a being with crystal skin, tried to sound calm. "Perhaps humans are only testing us," it said. "Perhaps this silence is a message. We should remain patient." But patience was fragile. Rival empires began to prepare fleets just in case the silence was a trick. Soldiers trained harder. Weapon factories worked through the night. The galaxy felt the tension rising, though. Not a single human word had been spoken. One thing became clear. Silence itself had become a weapon. The galaxy had grown used to human noise. Laughter, deals, arguments, songs, and threats. Without it, they felt exposed, as if the humans were watching them from behind a dark glass. The absence of sound was not peace. It was pressure, pushing on every heart, every leader, every empire. In the quiet of the council hall, the insect-like delegate whispered again, this time softer, almost afraid. "Do you not see? Silence means control. Silence means power. And the humans, they know it." The others shivered. The reports kept coming in. Earth was silent, but alive. Every system around it showed activity, but not a single word reached out. Not even a mistake, not even a faint whisper. It was complete. It was deliberate. The silence was no accident. Somewhere, deep in the minds of every alien, a thought grew like a shadow. Humanity had not disappeared. They were waiting, watching, preparing. And that thought was more terrifying than any weapon. The galaxy reacts across the stars. The silence of Earth spread like a dark wave. What began as whispers in markets soon turned into debates in royal courts, council chambers, and war rooms. The question was the same everywhere. Why had humanity stopped speaking? On the merchant worlds, traders argued over empty docks. Human ships, once famous for arriving on time with supplies and rare minerals, were nowhere to be seen. Storehouses that relied on Earth's goods began to shrink. The price of food rose. Weapons and medicine made by humans became rare treasures. Some merchants grew rich from hoarding, while others collapsed under the loss. The galaxy's soldiers felt it too. Human-made weapons had a reputation, simple, strong, and reliable. Armies that once ordered from Earth now trained with old stock, repairing what they could. Commanders muttered in secret. Was this part of a greater plan? Were the humans cutting the galaxy off to weaken them? In the distant colonies, fear turned into stories. On small mining moons, children were told that the humans had turned into ghosts, listening but never speaking. In crowded space stations, old veterans warned that silence was the prelude to war. They are waiting, they said in low voices, waiting until the galaxy trembles enough, and then they will strike. The rumors reached the great empires too. Rival leaders gathered their fleets. The Zorath Dominion, a reptilian empire with sharp teeth and sharper weapons, held secret meetings. Their generals stood before holograms of Earth and its colonies. We should attack before they do, one growled. A silent enemy is the most dangerous. We must crush them now before they rise. But not everyone agreed. Other species remembered humanity's history. Humans were survivors. They had endured plagues, wars, and disasters on their own world. They had colonized harsh planets no one else dared to touch. Attacking such a species blindly was a risk few wanted to take. Inside the Galactic Council, tension filled every session. The hall, built with tall ceilings and glowing walls, became a place of arguments that lasted for days. They are hiding something, one leader barked. No, another replied. They are warning us without words. Or perhaps, a third voice whispered, they do not need us anymore. The last suggestion hit like a blade. If humans had advanced beyond the galaxy's need, if they had built technologies no one else could reach, then their silence was not weakness, it was dominance. Why bargain with the Council if they already had the power to act alone? Meanwhile, scouts and spies were sent to learn the truth. They crept into the solar system, hiding in the shadows of asteroids or the glow of planets. What they saw made the rumors grow even worse. Earth was alive. Lights burned in cities at night. Satellites moved in perfect orbits. Colonies on Mars and the moons of Jupiter showed signs of energy and industry. But not a single transmission was released. Not even a distress call. It was as if the humans had closed their mouths while staring directly at the galaxy. One scout ship approached closer than it should have. Without warning, its systems froze. Cameras, engines, weapons, all locked. The crew panicked, but then, the ship powered down entirely, left drifting in space. Hours later, without explanation, its systems came back online. The ship fled, terrified. They reported no attack, no message, no visible weapon. Just silence, and the feeling of being watched. The report only deepened the fear. If humans could disable a ship without firing a shot, then what else were they capable of? Soon, entire civilizations began to change their behavior. Fleets moved away from human territory. Diplomats hesitated to mention Earth in public speeches. Even the criminal syndicates avoided human space, claiming it was too quiet to risk. Silence had become a wall, stronger than any shield. But fear was not the only reaction. In some corners of the galaxy there was awe. Smaller species, long bullied by the larger empires, whispered prayers to the humans. They saw Earth's silence not as a threat, but as an act of strength. To them it meant hope, that maybe the great empires would finally hesitate before crushing weaker worlds. Humanity, by saying nothing, had shifted the balance of power. Back in the Council, the crystal-skinned leader tried to calm the storm. Perhaps humans seek only peace, it suggested softly. Perhaps their silence is their shield against our endless noise. But the insect-like delegate struck the table again, voice filled with dread. No. This is not peace. This is control. They have shown us that without a word they can change the galaxy. Tell me, if silence has already made us so afraid, what will happen when they finally speak? The chamber fell quiet. For the first time, the mighty council realized they were not guiding events. They were reacting, step by step, to humanity's silence, and, in that moment, the galaxy understood. Earth had not gone silent because it was weak. It had gone silent because it was ready. The hidden watchers, the galaxy could not rest. Every empire, every leader, every traitor had their eyes fixed on one blue world, Earth. The silence was no longer a mystery. It had become a storm in every mind. And storms always drew watchers. Indomitable, the cold darkness beyond Neptune, small alien vessels drifted unseen. They were scouts from different empires, each trying to discover what the humans were hiding. Their orders were simple: watch, record, report. But none of them expected what they would find. One scout ship belonging to the Varlith Combine crept into the solar system cloaked in shadows. Its crew of 4 stared at their screens as Earth came into view, glowing with city lights. "They are alive," whispered the captain, her scaled fingers trembling. "Look at the power grids, look at the oceans, this is no dead world." Yet the world spoke no words. As they drew closer, the crew noticed something else. Earth's satellites were not idle. They shifted in subtle patterns, moving in perfect coordination. Their lenses turned, following the alien ship wherever it went. At first the crew thought it was coincidence. Then the realization struck like ice. The satellites were watching them. The ship quickly retreated, shaken. They had not been attacked, but they had been seen, completely, deliberately. Another scout ship, this one from the Zorith Dominion, was bolder. It pushed deeper into orbit, circling the moon, scanning for signals. They found radio pulses, faint and rhythmic, but not in any known language. The pulses felt less like communication and more like counting, as if humanity was marking the seconds, patiently waiting. Suddenly, the Dominion ship's navigation system went dark. Its thrusters froze, its weapons unresponsive. Panic spread through the crew. Then, just as suddenly, the systems returned. A single message flashed on their console: leave. No coordinates, no code, no source. Just one word. The ship fled instantly, but the fear followed them back to their empire. The report sent shockwaves across the galaxy. Earth does not need fleets to fight. Their silence itself can reach inside our ships. The Council received endless reports like this: ships disabled without being touched, probes blinded by interference, scouts shadowed by silent satellites. The evidence was clear. Humanity had not gone silent because it was powerless. Humanity was watching. Every move, every trespass, every whisper near Earth was being observed. Some began to call them the Hidden Watchers. Not because they hid, but because they forced the galaxy to realize who was truly under observation. For the first time, the galaxy felt like prey, and humanity, the once noisy, talkative species, had become the hunter that spoke no word. On a distant trade station, rumors spread among smugglers and pirates. They swore human ships had been seen leaving Earth, silent, sleek vessels powered by light itself. They made no sound, no call, no trail, but appeared suddenly in the dark, watching before vanishing again. "Solar ghosts," one pirate whispered. "Over a drink. Ships that glide on the sun. If you see one, it's already too late." Whether true or not, the stories grew. Fear and fascination blended until no one could tell where fact ended and myth began. But in every corner of the galaxy, one belief spread: the humans were preparing for something. Back in the council chambers, arguments turned to dread. "We must strike first," one warlord insisted. "No," replied a softer voice. "If we strike and fail, humanity will not forgive, and we will fail." For days, no decision was made. The council was paralyzed. trapped by a silence that weighed heavier with each passing moment. Then came a final report that shook them all. A scout probe orbiting Mars caught a glimpse of something vast beneath the dust storms. Not a city. Not a base, a ship. It was massive, built into the planet itself, its surface gleaming with solar collectors. The probe transmitted a single image before its feed went dead. The silence that followed felt almost deliberate, as though humanity had allowed just one look, then closed the door. When the image reached the council, every voice fell quiet. For the first time, they understood the truth. Humanity's silence was not emptiness, it was patience. They were not hiding from the galaxy, they were preparing for it. And somewhere on Earth, behind the shield of silence, humanity was watching the galaxy watch them. The fear of silence. The galaxy had always known fear. Wars, invasions, and rebellions had painted its history in blood. But never before had fear spread without a single shot fired. Humanity's silence was different. It was heavy, invisible, and everywhere. In the great markets of the core worlds, merchants no longer shouted with joy. They whispered nervously, glancing at the skies as if human eyes could pierce through stars. Ships that once carried Earth's goods sat empty, and their silence made every corridor feel haunted. On remote colonies, people told ghost stories of Earth. Parents warned their children not to speak of humans too loudly, or the silent watchers would hear. And when a child asked why Earth no longer spoke, parents gave no answer, because they had none. The Galactic Council sat in session for the 12th time in a single cycle, and still they could not agree. The chamber was filled with anger, panic, and dread. Leaders shouted across the table. "We must demand an answer from the humans," cried one, his skin glowing red with rage. "And if they ignore us again," another snapped. "Then we attack," the first roared. But the thought of attacking Earth sent a cold wave through the chamber. Even the fiercest empires hesitated. If silence had already broken their courage, what would happen if humanity decided to answer with action? The insect-like delegate, its antennae twitching, spoke softly but firmly. "You do not understand. It is not the silence itself. It is what it means. They are waiting for us to reveal ourselves. Every word we speak, every move we make, they see it. And we see nothing." The words made the chamber fall into uneasy quiet. Reports from across the stars fueled the dread. Scout ships disabled by unseen forces. Fleets turning back without orders, their captains too afraid to cross human borders. Even mighty warlords began to avoid speaking the word Earth, as if naming it would summon something from the dark. Then came the first signal in months. It was faint, caught by a listening post on the edge of the Orion arm. The operators thought it was static at first, a meaningless hum, but when decoded it revealed a single word, spoken in the human tongue. The word was simple, clear, chilling. Wait. It was not a threat, not a promise, just one word. Yet it struck harder than any weapon. Across the galaxy, leaders lost sleep. Soldiers trained harder but with trembling hands. Civilians whispered that humanity had given them a countdown, though no one knew what they were waiting for. The council argued over the meaning. "Wait, for peace?" one asked hopefully. "Wait, for war," another muttered. "Or wait, for us to destroy ourselves," a third said darkly. The message spread faster than light, not through transmissions, but through fear. Every empire interpreted it differently, but all agreed on one truth. Humanity had spoken, and even in a single word, they controlled the galaxy's mind. The fear reached a breaking point when the Zorath Dominion sent a fleet of 30 warships to test Earth's resolve. The fleet crossed into the solar boundary, their weapons armed. For 3 days, the galaxy held its breath. On the 4th day, the fleet returned. Every ship was intact. Not a single shot had been fired. But when questioned, the Zorath commanders refused to speak. Their eyes were hollow, their voices empty. The only report they gave was a short phrase. They know us. They know everything. And then, silence. The galaxy trembled. If the mighty dominion could be broken without a battle, what chance did anyone else have? The insect-like delegate's words now felt like prophecy. Silence was not absence. It was control. Across the stars, even the boldest species began to change. Criminals stopped raiding. Merchants lowered their voices. Diplomats chose their words with painful care. And in that eerie calm, one truth echoed. The fear of silence was stronger than war itself. Humanity had not conquered the galaxy with weapons. They had conquered it with absence, with patience, with the terrifying knowledge that sometimes the loudest power comes from saying nothing at all. And in every corner of the galaxy, the same question grew louder in every mind. When the silence ends, what will humanity do? The one-word reply for months. The galaxy had lived under the shadow of silence. Humanity had not spoken, not fought, not explained. Only once had they whispered a single word. Wait. That one word had shaken empires, broken fleets, and filled the stars with dread. But now something new stirred. On the edge of the Orion sector, listening stations began detecting strange signals again. At first they sounded like distortions, like the quiet hum of broken machinery. But as the signals repeated, scientists realized they were deliberate. They carried rhythm, structure, intention. Humanity was speaking again. The Galactic Council was summoned at once. Representatives from dozens of species filled the chamber, nervous and trembling. Every eye was fixed on the central display as the signal played. It was not long, not complicated. It was not even a sentence. The humans had spoken again, and this time they gave the galaxy a second word. Ready. The word echoed through the chamber like thunder. For a moment no one breathed. Then panic broke loose. Ready for what? Shouted one delegate. Ready for war, cried another. No, whispered a third. Ready. For us. The meaning was unclear, but the power was undeniable. In 2 words, spread months apart, humanity had seized the galaxy's imagination. Wait. Ready. 2 words that said everything and nothing, forcing the galaxy to fill the silence with fear. Across the eye, stars' reactions exploded. The Zorath Dominion armed its fleets, declaring humanity a threat to galactic order. The Varloth Combine tried to calm their people, claiming the words were harmless. But in every marketplace, every station, every colony, whispers grew. They are ready for something. For us. Merchants began hoarding supplies. Soldiers drilled day and night. Civilizations that had never agreed on anything now shared the same obsession, humanity. But it wasn't just fear. In the outer colonies, smaller, species began to hope. They saw Earth as a beacon. Humanity's silence had already humbled the great empires. If humans were ready, perhaps they were ready to challenge the cruel order of the galaxy. Perhaps they were ready to bring change. The galaxy was split between terror and awe. Meanwhile, reports arrived of strange activity near Earth. Massive structures were being built in orbit, shadows the size of cities. Satellites moved in precise formations, creating invisible grids across the sky. On Mars, dust storms revealed enormous panels gleaming under the sun, feeding energy into something hidden beneath the surface. The hidden watchers were not just observing anymore. They were building. When the images reached the council, chaos erupted. "This is proof of war," cried one. "No, proof of defense," shouted another. "Do you not see?" whispered the insect-like delegate, trembling. The words were not meant to explain, they were meant to remind us that they control the pace. They said wait, and we waited. Now they say ready, and we fear what comes next. The silence that followed was unbearable. No one dared to speak too loudly, as if humanity itself was listening through the walls. Then something even more shocking happened. In the middle of the council session, every screen, every communicator, Every display across the galaxy flickered at once. For a heartbeat, all systems froze, and then a message appeared in clear human script. "We are watching." 3 words. No voice, no face, only text. But it was enough to break the galaxy. On thousands of worlds, civilians screamed. Leaders fell into panic. Fleets scrambled to move only to realize their ships were unharmed. Humanity had not disabled anything. They had simply left a reminder. They could reach every system, every world, every heart whenever they wanted. And then, as quickly as it appeared, the message vanished. Silence returned. The galaxy trembled. Humanity had spoken less than 10 words in half a year, and yet those words now weighed heavier than centuries of council laws. For the first time, the galaxy understood that Earth did not need armies to win. Their silence was a weapon. Their words were blades. And now, with a single phrase, they had revealed the truth. Humanity was not just silent. Humanity was ready. The revelation. The galaxy could not sleep. Humanity's 3 short messages. Wait. Ready? We are watching, echoed in every star system like an invisible drumbeat. Empires that once laughed at Earth now built defenses at every border. Merchants changed routes, soldiers trained harder, and civilians whispered in terror. But deep inside, everyone knew. It was not defense. It was stalling. Because no one, not even the Great Council, understood what humanity was truly preparing. The answer came slowly, piece by piece. Scouts hiding in the asteroid belt reported vast shadows moving across the void. At first they thought they were meteors, but the shadows were too precise, too controlled. When the dust cleared, the truth came into focus. Ships, not ordinary ships. They were massive, longer than cities, wider than battle stations. Their surfaces gleamed with endless solar panels drinking light from the sun. Their hulls were dark, sleek, and silent. No exhaust, no radio signals, no transmissions. They moved like ghosts, powered only by the star itself. One by one, they rose from Earth's orbit and joined the blackness of space, forming silent patterns. The Council received the first image from a terrified scout before its systems went dark. The hall fell into stunned silence. Even the most powerful empires had never built such ships. They were not weapons of attack. They were fortresses, floating worlds, silent and patient. The insect-like delegate leaned forward, its voice trembling. They have not built a fleet to conquer. They have built a shield, a wall against the galaxy. But that was only the beginning. On Mars, massive solar fields stretched across deserts, feeding endless energy into underground chambers. Rumors spread of titanic engines buried beneath the red dust. On the icy moons of Jupiter, hidden structures glowed faintly, too perfect to be natural. And around Saturn, strange rings of satellites formed tight circles, as if weaving a net across the planet's skies. Everywhere the galaxy looked, humanity's silence now revealed a truth. They had been building all along. While the galaxy argued, traded and fought, Earth had prepared, quietly, patiently. A council member finally whispered what many feared to admit. All this time, their silence was not retreat, it was construction. Across the stars, panic spread again. The Zorath Dominion demanded war at once, claiming that to wait was suicide. The Varlith Combine begged for diplomacy, believing humanity might still seek peace. But neither side truly believed their own words. Everyone could feel it. The balance of the galaxy had already shifted, and then came the clearest sign of all. Single human ship left Earth's orbit. Unlike the massive fortresses, this one was smaller, sleek, but built with the same solar armor. It did not carry banners or weapons drawn. It carried silence. The ship moved with purpose, cutting across star systems without a sound. It passed through territories of rival empires, but none dared fire upon it. They only watched as it glided closer and closer toward the Council's core world. Fear turned into obsession. Billions followed its journey through intercepted images. Every empire sent fleets to shadow it from a distance, but none approached. No one wanted to be the first to touch the silent vessel. Days later, it arrived. The ship entered orbit above the Council's shining capital, a planet that had stood for centuries as the heart of the galaxy. Defense platforms armed themselves, ready to strike. But the human ship did nothing. It simply hovered, silent, casting its shadow over the city below. Inside the council chamber, the delegates gathered in chaos. "What do they want?" one shouted. "Why are they here?" cried another. "We should destroy it," yelled a third, though their trembling hands betrayed their fear. But no one gave the order, because deep down, they knew. If humanity had chosen to stand above the council's heart, it was not by accident. It was a declaration without words, a message louder than fleets or weapons. Finally, the ship opened a channel. Every screen in the chamber flickered to life. The delegates leaned forward, hearts pounding. For the first time in months, they would hear a human voice. The screen went black, and then a single figure appeared. It was a human, alone, calm, standing against a dark backdrop, their face unreadable, their voice steady. "We were silent because words mean nothing," the human said. "We were silent because the galaxy listens only when afraid. Now you listen." The chamber froze. No one dared breathe. The human leaned forward, eyes burning through the screen. "You feared our silence. You trembled at our waiting. But understand, our silence was not weakness, it was preparation." The screen flickered off. Silence returned, but this silence was no longer a mystery. It was the weight of truth. Humanity had revealed itself, not with fleets of destruction, but with proof of unshakable patience, unbreakable control, and unmatched will. And in that moment, every empire realized humanity had already won. Humanity's power understood. The human's words echoed long after the screen went dark. The council chamber, once filled with endless arguments, sat in complete silence. No one dared to move. No one dared to breathe too loudly. For the first time in galactic history, the mighty council felt small, like children sitting before a teacher they had never understood. Across the galaxy, the same moment played out. Billions of civilians watched as the human ship floated above the council's core world. Entire fleets stayed frozen in place, waiting for a strike that never came. But there was no attack, no weapons fired. Humanity had spoken, and that was enough. The fear of silence had grown into something more. Respect. Inside the council chamber, the insect-like delegate finally whispered, "They controlled us with nothing. No armies, no threats, no speeches. Only silence." Others nodded slowly, the truth sinking into their minds. Humanity had turned absence into power. Their patience had been their greatest weapon. And then, the human ship moved. It descended closer to the council's capital, gliding through defensive grids as if they did not exist. Not a single turret fired. Not because they couldn't, but because no one dared to give the order. Every eye followed the silent vessel until it stopped above the city, casting its shadow over the most powerful planet in the galaxy. At last, the ship opened again. This time, the human figure appeared not only in the council chamber but on every screen across the galaxy. Every station, every colony, every world saw the same face, a single human speaking to the stars. "You feared our silence," the human began, their voice calm, steady, heavy with meaning. "You feared the quiet because you filled it with your own shadows. You feared the silence because it reminded you of what you are not. Patient, united, ready." Gasps filled the chamber, but the human continued without pause. "You fight, you scheme, you argue. We built, we prepared, we waited. And now when you look at us, you do not see weakness. You see the reflection of what you cannot control." The human's eyes hardened. "We never needed to threaten you. We never needed to speak. Because the moment Earth went silent, the galaxy revealed its fear. For a moment, it felt as if the entire galaxy bowed under those words. Billions listened, unable to turn away. Finally, the human leaned closer, their voice dropping to a whisper that somehow carried across every world. Now, are you ready to listen? The transmission ended. The ship rose once more into orbit, its engines glowing. With solar light, it did not fire, did not stay. Slowly, silently, it turned and vanished into the dark, leaving the galaxy trembling in its wake. The council sat frozen. No one spoke for a long time. But deep inside, every leader knew the truth. Humanity had not asked for power. Humanity had not demanded respect. Humanity had simply shown the galaxy a mirror, and in that mirror the galaxy saw its own fear. From that day, everything changed. Empires that once saw humans as noisy traitors now treated them with reverence. Smaller species whispered the name of Earth with hope, believing humanity's silence would one day shield them too. Even the mighty Dominion no longer spoke of invasion. The galaxy had realized something that could never be forgotten. Earth's silence had not been weakness. It had been the sound of strength. Humanity's power was not in fleets or weapons or even words. It was in patience, in unity, in the terrifying calm of a species that could shake the stars without lifting a hand. And so, when the council finally ended the session, no orders of war were given. No fleets moved. No threats were spoken. Instead, one by one, the leaders lowered, their heads in quiet acceptance, for in silence they had heard humanity louder than ever before.